Yeah. This is for all you non-philosophizing black sheep, unwelcome, pushed to the side motherfuckers like me.
Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Ha ha ha. Let's get down to business. These bitches got glitches. And you thought you'd dismiss us? Nah. Now I'm laughing in stitches. See, the problem be, it'll be a tragic travesty to come after me. So just know this is how we get down. Respect that shit like a pronoun, bitch. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. And fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way.
What up, what up, what up? Your boy Oz in the building. No, what's up, everybody? Oz is in the building. Welcome to another edition of What's Your Story here on the Atheist Network group. And I will get through the announcements real quick because I want to get to the guest. This should be a great interview tonight. So first we'll start, well, I think y'all know where we're going to start. June 25th and 26th in Fort Wayne, Indiana at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum. It's that shit. It's this shit. You don't want to miss it. And the links and everything will be in the chat, or you can simply go to your little web browser on your little smartphone thingy and simply type in jesusisamyth.com, and it'll take you straight to the site to purchase your reservation. So we're getting close, y'all, to about a month away. So if you have not already, make sure you go and get them things right there. And then two other things real quick. Let's see, Tuesday, May 24th. Oops, I just screwed my screen up. There we go. 24th, we have the godfather of atheism, Randolph Richardson, joining the beautiful Jena and I, chopping it up. And we're going to talk about bad arguments for God. And we're going to hopefully have some clips of some different conversations that one of the three of us have been in at one point or the other, and we'll have some fun doing the deep dive into that. And then I'm super fucking pumped for the 23rd of this month. It'll be we don't have the thumbnail created for it yet, but it'll be the next installment of what has kind of become a channel favorite for the subscribers and viewers here, which I think is amazing. But it'll be the next installment of being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and the focus being on mental health, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're going to do that and talk about all things, anything mental health, as far as, well, those on the panel, what they're comfortable talking about or, addressing anyway. But the focus is going to be, on and around that topic. And if you've been hanging around Tang or with Tang long enough, that's one of the main focuses that we have is not just normalizing atheism, but normalizing the conversation around mental health, mental illness, and treatment, and being correctly medicated, so on and so forth, all that. So we'll be doing that. And then last but not least, if you would like to be a part of What's Your Story in the future, if you want to sit down and I'm a little bit of a knucklehead, can be a little bit of a smart ass sometime, but if you want to sit down and hang out with me and talk, you can email us. It's tang gang@gmail.com, and we'll get you scheduled, and we'll have some fun. So, well, let's just bring the guest on here. None other than the fearless, the man killer, Heathen Queen.
Yeah.
What up?
What's up?
I almost put that on the social media post. I was like, well, I don't want to scare anybody that maybe hasn't met you. So
I mean, they can't. It's fine. That's what I tell people all the time. Don't cry. Don't fucking cry. Just kidding. Anyway, how are you? Thanks for having me. Thanks for that moniker.
I'm very good. I'm very good. And everybody, if well, those of you do know, this is Heathen Queen. If not, you've never seen Heathen Queen, never got to hear her speak, tonight's your night, and meet Heathen Queen. So how are you feeling?
Brace yourselves. Just kidding. I'm doing okay. Today was a bit of a wild day, not for any like serious reason, but I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have a drink in my hand.
Amen to that. Let the church say amen. Well, you know what? That's fitting.
Laid back.
I apologize. That was obnoxiously loud. All right. Well, before we get into any conversations, please let all the folks in the chat know where they can find you, anything you got coming up here soon.
Usually you can find me in hell. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on TikTok at Queen of the Heathens, Twitter if you're really brave, Queen of Heathens. I'm also on the YouTube and on Instagram. It's pretty much all the same. Yeah, I guess I have a bunch of interviews that I'm doing coming up where I'm doing the interviewing. But I think probably the most exciting thing that's coming up is also the most exciting thing that's coming up for you, which is the Better Conference.
Hell yeah. There.
My ticket is booked.
And y'all better be there as we broadcast live from the pits of hell.
Where I reign. No, yeah. Someone did tell me on TikTok once that I was the last child of the devil. And I was like, I don't really know how to take that. Like, I'm like the sole survivor here. Like, okay. Is that supposed to be an insult? Like, come on.
Well, of course, my smart ass critical brain is automatically, if I'm the last, does that also make me the first and the only?
I don't know. Like, I feel like that was a weird self-own that they did. Like, you just complimented, like, I'm the last child of the devil? Thank you.
I'm the first and the last.
I was such a terrorist that the devil was like, no, we're good. That's all. No more.
I suddenly sound like I'm taking Yahweh's place. First and also the last.
It's me. I am. Yeah, so that's really it. I think I'm super excited for that conference and the panel and meeting everybody and hanging out and potentially making some trouble. Yeah.
There's plenty of trouble to be had in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And well, this will be fun to talk about since you're on here. It's kind of boring talking about it when I'm by myself doing the announcements. But the one thing I did forget to mention for Better, because whether you can be there in person or not, the fun part is Saturday night is the after party where all the speakers, panelists, and then anybody that's part of TANG as far as the creators, we're gonna fucking party and get drunk, and it's gonna be held at my place of employment, Summit City Comedy Club, and we have full access to the full bar and everything. But the other badass part is Pasta Mike's gonna be there, and we're gonna have a live stream.
He just said he's not going. Bitch.
Bitch. Mike will be there to live stream the after party. So if you want to see that, any patrons or the YouTube channel members, you'll have direct access to those shenanigans. So yeah, there could be some trouble that night.
There will be. If I have anything to say about it.
It's pretty much guaranteed.
Amen, my brother in Christ.
Apostle Mike just said he's going to church that night. I'll call my brother. Shane, no, clothing is mandatory, especially for you. All right. Well, let's get down to business. So yes, again, thank you for hanging out with me tonight. And
my pleasure.
I know we missed each other a couple times on emails, and there's a couple times that I sent emails. I don't even know if they got to you, at this point. But we're here. That's all that matters.
Yes. Shout out to Jena, because I think between my brain and your brain, I'm not sure this ever would have happened without her.
Well, I think I said something along those lines to her. I'm like, it may be, once you try, because it may be that I'm missing shit and she's missing shit, because we're both on Adderall, so who knows where. Yeah. I think I don't even know. I would lose my head half the time if it wasn't connected to my shoulders. So I can't be trusted. It's still strange to me that I'm like the adult in the room. Me? No. Oh, that's always bad news.
You gotta find somebody else.
Yeah, I've always said that if I'm the smartest or the most mature in the room, we're fucked. We are fucked.
Yeah.
But
hey, if you leave the room, the responsibility leaves with you.
Yes, I'm out.
My motto.
So for those that maybe this is their first time watching an episode of What's Your Story, there's only one like pre-scripted or pre-planned question, and the rest is organic, and we just kind of let the conversation unfold and develop, as we move along. And that first question is always, so Heathen Queen, tell myself and those hanging out with us this evening, what life looked like for little Heathen Queen running around. What did that look like?
Oof, so I grew up where I still kind of live in the California Bay Area. And I find this especially interesting because when I tell people about my upbringing, it sounds very, very conservative and fundamentalist, and it is. But the odd part is that I grew up in one of the most liberal places in the entire country, right? Like, you don't get a lot more liberal than San Francisco, Berkeley, places like that. Now, I live in Oakland. I grew up sort of around Oakland. Also very liberal. But so I grew up here. And when I was about, I want to say 6 or 7 years old, my mom and my stepdad somehow got involved with charismatic evangelical Christianity. If we want to go back further than that, I don't know if there's anyone in this chat that's like familiar with California, but I was born in Modesto, which I affectionately call Methdesto, because that's all that happens there. And like, yeah, I guess I should warn everybody that if you don't know me, like the way that I handle all the fucked up shit in my life is just dark humor and laughing at it. So trigger warning. But when my mom was pregnant with me and we were living in the old Methdesto, my biological father, who was a drug addict, like strangled her and tried to kill her. And the only way that I guess she was able to get away from him was to choke something out about like, I'm carrying your daughter. And for some reason that worked and he backed off. Now here's the like super fun part. She didn't leave at that point. Like, what is you doing? Yeah. No, I mean, I understand, right? Like domestic violence is a very complicated thing. And I would never fault someone for not having the wherewithal to leave immediately, like at all. But anyway, so we then, at a certain point after I was born, moved back up and we were living with my grandparents, and they're a whole other story. But eventually my mom met my stepdad and we sort of dipped. Now, the thing was, my stepdad wasn't a lot better at the time. He wasn't like abusive, but he certainly was doing some illicit things, if you know what I mean.
Illicit.
Illicit, for lack of a better term. And so at around like 6 or 7, I remember my mom telling this story and being like, I was on my way to do something I wasn't supposed to do. And then I somehow stumbled into a Christian bookstore. How did that happen? I have no idea. But they gave her 2 tickets to this play called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames.
Oh, Jesus fucking.
Sorry. Now, you know what this is, but if you don't know what this play is, hold on to your butts, you know? Basically, it's an entire, yeah, I got it. Okay. It's an entire play that's like the last minutes of people's lives in a variety of ways. A car accident, I don't know, just, I don't even remember all of them. I just remember it was a car accident, like a drug overdose and some other things. And every scenario, these people end up in front of the judgment seat of Christ. And if they never accepted Jesus, exactly, then Satan like comes out and grabs them and just like drags them off, kicking and screaming to hell. And it's just this over and over and over again, right? Like production quality, plot, never heard of them. But like that's the entire thing. And if this gives you any insight into my childhood, my mom got this on tape and then would just like watch it like 3 or 4 times a week. Hello.
Hey, what are we doing today, Mom? Well, for a couple hours, I prefer that we just watch people get drugged to hell.
Yeah. Oh, God. So, okay, if you grew up evangelical, you might be familiar with this. My mom also loved Ray Boltz. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that man's music, but it's traumatizing. Yes. Like, she would listen to it on full blast in the house and like watch all of his music videos. And I'm just like, dog, I am 7 years old. I do not need to see Jesus like getting drugged up to Golgotha or drug up to Golgotha like every other day. Yeah, if you all want to know why I'm so mean, it's for these reasons. No, so like,
can I just say, one
go.
We already, let's see, we're 19 minutes in, but about 15 minutes of that was announcements and us just talking shit.
Yeah.
We already have 1,000 things more in common than I even realized, because everything, Heaven's Gates, Hell's Flames, Ray Boltz, oh my God. Oh, fuck me. Oh, shit. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like, please. And I'm sure I'm forgetting.
To the lamb. Fuck you and your lamb.
Dude, right? Like, I remember that one, maybe it was that song. I can't remember, but it's like the music video is this guy is in like prison and he's about to be martyred because he's a Christian, and his son is like in the cell with him. Like, Dad, what's happening? And I'm like, what in the fucking manipulative bullshit is this? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that fucked up, twisted shit was the I pledge allegiance to the lamb.
Yes. Dude,
assholes.
yeah. And also, I mean, my parents were like all about end times, like the world is going to end in your lifetime. So like, what's the fucking point? And then like everything that happens on a global or country sort of political stage, they found some way to make it about the book of Revelation. And like, oh, this is definitely like the Whore of Babylon. Okay, tell me you've never read a history book. But like at the time, I was like, oh shit. Like, oh my God. You know, thinking that like I was gonna have to get 666 tattooed on my goddamn forehead to go buy like milk at the store. Like that's like, but that's like really what it was. Like, and even though like the Left Behind books have nothing to do with actual theology, or very, very little. That was what I was taught was like real life. That was what's going to happen. Like the fucking gospel according to Tim Leahy or whatever his name is. Just insane. Like I remember at a certain point when I was, again, 7, 8 years old, like being taught that I was going to almost assuredly be tortured and martyred for being a Christian. And if I didn't go through with it, if I did recant, then I was just going to burn in hell forever because I betrayed Jesus. Like, ma'am, I'm 7, so maybe chill. Like,
yeah. Oh, this is interesting. I did not know this. And this is where Aunt Kathy finds the most.
Oh, yes, he did. He did. And let me tell you, the way that I rejoiced when I told my parents, the pleasure I got out of just ruining their whole day. Like, I was like, Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you.
Remember Ray Ray?
Yeah. Remember Ray. There's a word that rhymes with that. I'm gonna like that.
Mom and Dad, Ray, I'll let you do the work.
Fill in the blanks. Mad Libs. No, like, I'm happy for him that he's living his truth, but like I will not lie. The perverse joy it gave me to just like I threw a party. Like, Mom and Dad, remember that man you used to traumatize me forever? Guess what?
I get it.
He doesn't like Jesus anymore, so.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know. Maybe he's some kind of progressive Christian. I actually don't know, but you couldn't tell me nothing that day.
You can't tell me nothing. And see, I don't have any like that I could have thrown back as far as, you know, people are characters that my parents kept, especially my mom kept in front of me, you know.
Yeah.
But what I did, because you talked about the 666 tattoo and all that. Well, I because I have really shitty internet. I'll pause every once in a while. But what I did, just to be a complete, just petty atheist asshole, is those of us that are familiar with the Book of Revelation. It says that, you know, when Jesus comes back, he'll come riding on his white horse, and on his thigh will be tattooed King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Guess what I tattooed on my thigh?
Please tell me it's 666.
Nope, it's King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I am Jesus.
Blessings. Yeah, I mean, my parents, like what I'm doing on the internet right now is like their worst nightmare. It's their worst nightmare. And it just tickles me pink.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, sorry. I mean, my mom did try and tell me, this was probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago at this point, that the Bible is the most well-researched, well-documented book of all time. I would like whatever you're smoking, because, well, that's news to me and about every other, not that I'm a scholar, but about every scholar in the world. Yeah. So in any event, so that's how I grew up. Meanwhile, my mom was also like a raging alcoholic. So that was a really fun combination because my church was so charismatic. Like, you were taught that you could have visions, you can like see angels or demons, you can sense these spirits, like blah, 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 blah. And so my mom, though, would just like drink incredibly heavily for extended periods of time, and that will cause hallucinations. So then she would also like tell me when I was younger, like, oh, that she could see this or that or do whatever. And it was incredibly confusing because you're taught that it is actually perfectly normal to see things. So then when your mother is telling you she sees these things, you kind of just believe her. But then that led to like my parents telling me everything was demonic and everything was spiritual warfare. And we actually talked about this on the Unholy Trinity the other night, where like a lot of us were just mentally ill. A lot of us just had like depression, anxiety, OCD. And those are just, I don't want to say those are like the lightweight ones, but those are the ones that don't involve like any kind of psychosis or things like that, right? And that's not to make them less hard to deal with. It's just, I would say it's maybe even, it's easier to deal with because you aren't telling them I'm seeing something that's not there. You're just feeling sort of compulsively guilty, or you just feel like shit all the time. But Christianity teaches you that you are shit and that you should be broken, because the only way that Jesus can use you or work through you is when you are broken. And so it's like this aspirational state. So when you're just fucking mentally not producing those chemicals that you're supposed to, nobody really sees anything wrong with that. So, and if you couple that with a childhood full of trauma, you turn into a young adult or a teenager who is struggling with these mental illnesses brought on by a childhood full of trauma, and being told that you're just under attack by the devil. You just need to, I don't know, pray more, read the Bible more. God's testing you, right? And God gives his, what is that bullshit ass phrase? Like his hardest battles to his like strongest soldiers. And like, you're going to look back one day and this is all going to like make sense. God's like preparing you for something. Like, no, God's preparing me for the psych ward.
Yeah.
Because like people need medication. People need psychiatrists. People need therapists. Like people need medical attention. Sorry, I'm on a soapbox about mental health recently. But
get it.
Like,
get it.
You're also telling people that, so in the society at large, especially the, before the sort of late 2000s, and even now, I guess, but like mental illness was extremely stigmatized. So not even within Christianity, leaving that aside, mental illness was seen as a moral failing or a character failing or something that's wrong with you, that like you shouldn't, like that you just need to work harder, right? Like do something, as opposed to a chemical imbalance in your brain. So you might go to the doctor if you're feeling sick as a normal non-Christian, like physically sick, but your mental health is not treated even remotely the same. Now take that into the church, where the go-to in charismatic denominations is to pray first, even if it's physical, right? Pray first. God wants to do miracles. Pray. Like he'll touch you. Like all of these like things. And then if it doesn't work, okay, fine. Go to the doctor and take your medicine. And there's no real like shame in that. Like some people would say that like, oh, if you're physically ill, you're under attack, but it was very, very much less that than if you said like, I'm depressed. Like I'm sad all the time. I can't stop compulsively doing this thing. I worry all the time. Like all of these things, right? And like, no, you're just under attack. So it's exponentially worse in the church, because not only are they not wanting to treat any kind of illness initially with medical attention, they're then saying this mental illness isn't even real. It's not even a real thing. It's just Satan attacking you. So like, this is God's allowing this for a reason, right? And so it fucks your brain up, because you're like, am I not a good Christian? Am I not doing the right things? Like, why is he testing me like this? How do I win this battle? What am I doing? And then you go to the people that you trust, and they just reiterate this bullshit. And as we all know, I think we all know, your neural pathways get paved when you're younger. And the more that you continue these sort of lines of thoughts or these thinking, not processes, but like these patterns in your brain, they just get, the pathways get deeper and deeper and deeper. And so then when you are 20 or 21 or 25 or 30 or whatever it is that you finally realize that like, wow, that is incredibly toxic and fucked up and I'm going to go get help, it is so much harder to undo. Anyway, sorry.
No, please don't be sorry, because I'm going to jump in there, and then you're probably going to then jump off on that, so that this will probably be all systematic, because that's just what us atheists do. But first of all, I want to. Well, we need to drink. We need to drink music for this.
I'm sorry.
Sipping on gin and juice.
Oh.
Aunt Kathy, and I don't know if you know Heathen Queen. A lot of people think it's like Aunt Kathy, like YouTube aunt. No, this is my real life aunt. My mom.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
Is she part of our family, us? Because a lot of the things you're saying, that's why I said it up front like 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm like, holy fuck, I didn't even realize how much in common there was in this regard. And there's just a couple things that I want to touch, and this is a what's your story episode, so I'm not going to go off on too many rants because it's not about me. This is about Heathen Queen.
Yeah, please.
But as the interviewer, when I do share a lot of commonplaces or experiences, I do feel like it's important for people to hear that, okay, there's one person and I went through that. Oh shit, there's 2 people on screen and they've been through it and I've been through it, and it empowers people to realize that they can remove themselves from that. They can do that. They can be different. They can, seek alternative choices and places to live and ways to think, and and all that. And I guess the easiest way for me to kind of encapsulate everything that you just said, which I love everything that you just brought to the table, because it is so fucked. It is so fucked, and it needs to be talked about more and more and more, because people don't realize until they see the underbelly of Christianity, the underbelly of American Christianity.
Yes.
They do not realize how toxic, how poisonous, how damaging, how hurtful, and how fucked up it truly, truly is. And I don't care what anyone tells me. And this is why I've really, over the last 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 months, have went from the more peaceful agnostic atheist to I'm now at this place. I'm like, fuck you, you.
It kills people.
Yeah, because I've tried being nice. I tried the nice route. And you take my kindness for weakness, and it doesn't challenge you. It doesn't challenge your bad ideas. It does not truly challenge your bad beliefs. And when we have people that are taking their own lives because of this shit, I'm not standing for it anymore. And I'm not going to sit back and be patty caking and playing games with this shit anymore, because it doesn't help. It doesn't solve problems. There's no solutions there. So I'll say this and I'll be done. And then by all means, Heathen Queen, you jump off again. But we're talking about a book. We're talking about a book, the Bible. And think about everything that Heathen Queen just said. And these are the things, and I'm actually working on a not a graph, but like a spreadsheet, or I don't even know what to call it right now, but where it takes the different comparisons, where it's I'm under attack. This is God testing me. This is the attack of the devil. This is heaven testing me. But look what that does. Look what that does. Is it I'm under attack? The enemy is attacking me because he fears me? Or is it God is testing me because he wants me to show myself approved? Which one is it? Because no matter how I approach it, my mind is fucked, because it's either I'm being tested or I'm not. Like you said, I'm simply never good enough. I'm simply never good enough. And I never live up to this God or whatever, the expectations, and it's failure after failure after failure. And guess what that resembles? Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you identify as, that is the definition or the perfect way to draw a picture of an abusive relationship. Congratulations.
You won. Yeah, I mean, so I think of it a lot with Christianity in the same terms that I sort of deal with bigots on the internet. I think a lot of Christians are bigots. I think they dress it up. They dress it up and they wrap it up in this nice language, and they say like, no, actually, it's not really bigotry, right? It's not really sexism. It's complementarianism. It's, here's this nice word that sounds whatever. And the thing is that like, you can dress up bigotry any way you want. It's still bigotry. And so like, I'm never going to have anybody sit here and tell me that like, oh, I'm being too mean to people. I'm not being civil enough. I should try the high road, right? Like, people can argue with me all they want. I blew up the fucking high road. Because when you take the high road with these people,
Yeah.
you then tell them that what they're saying is valid, deserves a platform, and is equal and should be respected. No, it shouldn't be respected when what you're teaching people is that they're born bad, they stay bad, they're always going to be bad, and the only way to be better is to die and go to heaven. Meanwhile, all of your beliefs in between, right? It's not just that. All of the beliefs in between are harming marginalized people, are harming anybody that's effectively, at least in American Christianity, not a straight white man. I don't give a fuck about straight white men. But like,
I love you, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no. Like, I mean, listen, I feel like everybody knows this, right? I know, like, you all know I have straight white male friends and I love them very much. But the thing is when I say that, none of them take offense because they all know exactly who I'm talking about, right? It's like when people say like, well, white women, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? I don't take offense because it's not this bitch. Like, so like, why are you crying? In any event, with Christianity, right? They'll say like, you should be nice. You should have these respectful debates. You should treat it as, like, respect their religion. Here's the thing. I'll respect your religion when you quit trying to turn this country into a Christian theocracy, right? I'll respect your religion when you aren't shoving it down people's throats. Like, I will respect your religion when you keep that shit in your closet like Jesus told you to. You can believe whatever shitty things you want, but as soon as you start pushing those beliefs on other people and harming them, yep, we got a problem. And because I have the background in that shitty religion, and also because I have a lot more social capital than most people, I'm going to say something, and I'm not going to say it in a way that makes you comfortable because I don't want you to be comfortable. I want you to be uncomfortable, because the thing is like, if you're comfortable, nothing is ever going to change, right? I don't remember who told me this story, but it's like, it's like, what was it? God, I'm going to butcher this story so bad, but it's effectively like, there's a dog that sits in one place every day, and then it's like this dog sits on, oh God, I can't remember this story, and I can't even tell you, but it's effectively like, until someone is uncomfortable for long enough, they're not going to change. What I want you to do is be uncomfortable long enough to get up and move. And like, you might not like the way I do that. You might not find it respectable. The other thing is that like Christians, and especially the ones that I battle with day to day on the internet, they'll say things like, oh, wow, well, that really shows how mature or intelligent or whatever you are. Here's the thing. I don't give a shit if you think I'm mature or respectful or intelligent. I don't care. Did you give me my college degrees? No. Do you pay my bills? No. So all I care about is the fact that like you're feeling some pushback on your bullshit. That's all. Because these people are harming so many people, and we're just letting them do it because we feel like we have to be nice. What's nice about a religion that tells everybody that's not exactly within these very narrow confines that they're going to burn for all eternity and that they shouldn't have rights? why would I treat that with kindness?
No, and
anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. We have found ourselves in I think we're, so to speak, when we get up in the morning, we're putting the same shoes on, because that's where I'm at. It's like, fuck this shit. And I'll say this, and I'll get back into the interview, or else.
Oh, yes, sorry.
No, please do not apologize, because I'm equally as guilty. You and I could probably go off on this shit for 5 hours and not stop. But the last thing I'll say, and I've shared this with Jena, because Jena grew up in church as well, but it wasn't like what you and I are talking about, like the rainbows and heaven's gates and blah, 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 blah. She didn't grow up with all that, right? And so there's the fucked up shit, and then there's the toxic fucked up, like that is like PTSD, traumatic, that kind of shit. So there's levels to this shit, in the streets. But this is one of the quotes that I embrace, and I'm applying here in other areas of my life. But it's very simple. Conduct permitted is conduct taught. And I'm done permitting theists. I'm done permitting Christians to talk and act and abuse and treat people a certain way, because when I permit it, I'm teaching them that it is acceptable and that it's okay for them to treat myself and anyone around me that way. And fuck that. It's not okay, and it's not acceptable. Period.
Yeah. It's the same to me. It's like, so as a woman, I cannot tell you how many times I hear people say, like, well, not all men. Here's the thing. Yeah, it's not all men, right? I get it. However, when your guy friend, when you're hanging out with your guys, and one of your guy friends makes a misogynistic comment and nobody says anything, guess what? It's all those men. So like, it's the same with Christians, right? It's the same with me and Christians. It's the same with everybody. When you let them say whatever they want, treat people however they want without any pushback, especially from people that come from that background or that exist currently in that community, you're just letting them get away with it. Yeah, so you're just letting them get away with it. And like, I think we all know that when people can get away with shit, they just keep it up. They don't change.
I think it'd be cool to have a discussion, have you and I and maybe one or two other folks, and talk very specifically, dig into that. And we can use that quote kind of as the theme of it, is conduct permitted, conduct taught. And what does that look like? How do we approach that to where, where and how can we attack this and make a difference, but also not be tolerant of the dogmatic bullshit, and where is that divide, and where do we switch, where do we switch it up? But,
Yes. So I would love to do that, because I could talk about this for a million trillion years. And it's kind of what I base my entire platform on, really, is saying like, nope, that stops here. And it might not be that changes the world, right? But it's going to make people think a little bit before they just come feeling free to say whatever the fuck they want. Anyway, sorry, we can save that for another time. Yeah. I'm seeing the comments, and I do want to tell a little bit more about my story, because I think there's some important parts, although I love to yell about Christians. I also went to a very, very, very fundamentalist school for my middle school years. Now, the thing is so like in elementary school, I was hella poor. And I was a super conservative Christian, so I wasn't the most popular person. I know it's hard to believe. However, and I also had like anxiety, because I was living in this like hellhole where I was thinking at any point, like, the sky's going to open up, Jesus is going to come back, and I'm going to either make it or not. And if I don't make it, I'm going to be tortured to death. Like, it was just horrible. I'm in elementary school. It's not right to teach children that. So because of all of these reasons, I ended up I asked my parents, please put me in this like little private school because I just couldn't take what was happening. What I needed was therapy. Anyway, now this school wasn't really a school. If you watch the show I was on, I think it was on Biddy's channel with Biddy, we were talking about our sort of fundamentalist schooling, or you were there. Sorry. Sorry.
I was there.
Yeah, sorry. And it was called Accelerated Christian Education, but it was effectively just self-study. So you take tests, and they place you on different levels for your different subjects. And so I could be, say I went in at 6th grade, I started at like a 10th grade level on some things, and then like a 6th grade level on other things. So you get your workbooks, you go to a learning center every day, you sit down, you're divided on each side so no one can see your work, you can't see other people, even though it's impossible to cheat because everyone's doing different things. And you sit down, it's dead silent, you work until your break time, you get up, go do whatever for your break, come back, dead silent, work until lunch. Now, these workbooks were created by, I believe, Southern Baptists in Texas in the 1970s. So you can imagine, they had like little comics in them, and they were segregated. So all the white people went to one school, church school, all the black people went to another church school, and the one Asian family went to a different church school.
Sorry, just
they also.
Do you remember what they were called? Like,
I don't remember the names of them, but the last names of the people were things like Lovejoy, and
I mean the church or company, whatever that published or printed them.
I don't. It was just called ACE, Accelerated Christian Education, and I don't know if that. I think that was the company, or the group.
Go ahead. That's fine.
And their proof that evolution wasn't real. Oh yeah, Mr. Virtue said, "Good God." Their proof that evolution wasn't real was that the Loch Ness monster existed.
Huh?
You can find like news articles about this. Like people were like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Because the Loch Ness monster is a dinosaur that hasn't evolved. So evolution. They also taught that apartheid in South Africa, like, actually wasn't that bad. Like, it was good for the economy. So, like, who cares about the people, right? Horrendous. Yeah, it was horrendous. Yeah, so that's what I got for several years. Yeah, so when you got your workbooks, they were called PACEs. So a packet of accelerated Christian education. So if you hear PACE and ACE, they're the same thing. Yeah, and there was no actual teachers in the learning center. You just had adults that supervised you. So when I didn't understand something, if I asked a question, you were just asking some random person with no actual credentials. Which, like, it's really hard for some people like myself to learn advanced math by themselves. That's why you have teachers. So then I would like not know something, wouldn't understand. I'd go to the teacher and he would like try to explain, the supervisor, he would try to explain it to me and then get really frustrated when I didn't get it. And like, I cannot tell you the damage that did to me up until I got to college. I almost changed the entire trajectory of my college education. So I didn't have to take one class because I had so much anxiety about not understanding it. So that was my like several years of my education. And after I graduated, I kind of just tried to get far away from home because it was insane. And ultimately, when I was 21, so obviously several years after I graduated high school, I still believed in God and in Jesus and in Christianity. I wasn't always going to church, but like I still harbored that belief that like this was real, and it's like, you know, I was just sort of being disobedient and awful by living my life. And when I was 21, I had a boyfriend, and as most of you know, I think, or as many of you know, long story short, he ended up killing himself. And at that point, I mean, like, if anytime you experience a loss, you know how shitty that feels. If you know that it's a sudden loss, a violent loss, and a loss that is almost damn near impossible to make sense of, it's just compounded. And when you're 21 years old and all you've known is trauma and unhealthy coping mechanisms and like just toxicity, it's even harder, right? Because you're like, I have no tools for this. I have nothing. I don't know what to do. So what did I do? Again, another really toxic Christian teaching, in my opinion, is they teach you that, you know, when you are at your lowest, when you're your most broken, when you are, you know, at the worst point in your life, that's when God will meet you. And for me, I had largely felt like growing up in this charismatic denomination that like I never had these experiences that other people did. They had all of these, you know, speaking in tongues and slain in the spirit, and they're always feeling God's love and crying and like all of this stuff, and it never happened to me. So I thought, finally, I mean, like, obviously this wasn't my first thought, but I thought this is definitely the lowest point in my life. So like, if there's going to be a time that God meets me, it's going to be now. And at this same time, after my ex passed away, I remember going to the police station. We went down there because they wanted just to ask a bunch of us questions. Not like they thought any of us had anything to do with it. They were just trying to get like a backstory and like information. At this time, my best friend, my absolute best friend in the world, was my ex-boyfriend. He had been my first boyfriend, my first love, and we had broken up. But like, he had told me like, I'll always be there for you. Like, you know, you'll always be able to count on me, because he knew my story with my parents, and like, he was the only person I really had, the only person I kind of trusted implicitly. And so I called him that night and I told him all of this, and he knew my ex. They were acquaintances. I told him all of this. I'm like hyperventilating on the phone, and he's telling me like, I love you. It's okay. Like, I'll come see you. I'll be there for you. We'll figure it out. And then he never talked to me again. Totally ghosted me. And at the same time, I was also, when his funeral rolled around, the night of his funeral, all of his friends, not all of them, most of them got together without me, called me and blamed me for his death. And I don't even know how to express the level of grief that comes along with all those things. His family also stopped talking to me, and like, I don't blame his family. I don't, because I can't imagine losing a child that way and then trying to interact with his partner, his girlfriend, his friends. Like, I don't even pretend to know what that would feel like. And so I don't blame his family at all. And I genuinely hope they're doing well. But at the time, I was 21 years old and just devastated and felt incredibly abandoned and just lost. And I had no real clear path forward. Like, I didn't know what to do.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Yeah.
Now, I won't be a commenter. I'll actually be an interviewer. First of all, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I 100% want to tell you I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And that's that's a lot, and that's deep, and that's a lot of shit to navigate, and a lot of shit to deal with for any individual. So I'm proud of you for doing that and being where you're at right now and today. I first want to commend you on that, but to rewind through that, I can only imagine the different feelings and emotions, whether it was anger, bitterness, rage, sadness, depression, like any and all of those things that would accompany a a sequence of events that you experienced there.
Yeah.
Through all of that, how did you at the end of it, so to speak, how did you keep it together, Heathen Queen? Because that's there's a lot of people that I know that would not ever be able to handle that level of weight or the waves of emotions and everything that comes along with that. How did you navigate that? What got you through that?
Man, I certainly didn't do it perfectly. I know I made a bunch of mistakes, I'm sure. I think I always come back to this thing, and it's not very comforting, I don't think, but it is something that really helped me. I think one thing that happened after he died was everybody wanted to know why, right? Everybody wanted to know why. As if someone taking their own life is just like a really clear-cut decision, right? Well, this happened. And part of that was like we had gotten into an argument the night before, and so it had made a really easy sort of scapegoat for people to be like, well, this argument led to this event. Like, first of all, if y'all think someone kills himself over an argument, like, read a fucking book. Like, I don't know how to, like, nobody does that, right? Or if they do, it's because of 50 million other things that have happened or that they're dealing with, right? It's not just like this one argument. That all being said, I remember, I don't know who told me this. I genuinely don't, but I remember someone saying, you're going to have to find a way to get comfortable, to understand, to accept, to come to terms with that sometimes there aren't any answers. Like, sometimes there aren't any answers. And that sucks. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to say, like, well, here's an easy explanation. This is why that happened. Okay, I'm going to put it in a box and put it away. I can make sense of it. Sometimes you can't make sense of it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it's never going to make sense. Because when someone gets to a point that is that low, it's not all rational, right? Like, it's not like you can say, oh, well, X plus Y equals this, and now that's why I'm doing it. And in the times I remember sitting and thinking, like, I need an answer, leaning into this fact that, like, that answer might not exist, probably doesn't exist, or if it does, it's incredibly fractured and it's never going to be a whole picture for you, allowed me to kind of say, like, okay, then I'm just going to, like, I'm not going to have an answer. So all I can do is accept what has happened and, like, I don't know how a better way to say it, but, like, accept my feelings at this moment and do whatever I need to do right now to get through till tomorrow. And I think a lot of people, at least I myself, have a really hard time saying, I'm enough in this moment. Like, whatever I need to do right now is okay. And I'm not going to pass judgment on myself for needing this. I'm not going to sit here and say, like, well, you should be at this point in your healing process, or you should be feeling something else, or you should be beyond this, right? Like, grief is not linear. It's been almost 11 years, and sometimes I still wake up and cry, right? Like, because there's not a timeline. And I mean, that all sounds really, like, well and good now, but trust me when I say that it was messy and ugly and hard. But it's a lot easier when you aren't trying to put together a puzzle that pieces don't fit together. Like, you're trying to put together 10 different puzzles, and they're never, ever, ever going to go together. You're going to get bits and pieces that might connect and make sense, but you're never going to get the whole picture because it's impossible. It's impossible to be in that person's head, to know what they were feeling, to understand the chemical imbalances, to know what traumas and memories, and, like, you're never going to know. So, like, leaning into that fact that, like, you're not going to know, you don't have to know. You don't have to know. To hold on to those memories that were good, to hold on to the ways that you felt, to hold on to all of the goodness in that person, because that's what's left, right? That's what's left. Even if you get an answer, even if someone said, here's why he did it, that person isn't coming back, and it's not going to make you feel better. Like, you're not going to feel better just because, like, oh, well, he did it because he had an incredibly fucked up childhood. He didn't, I don't think, but like, there's this very simple answer. Okay, does that make you feel better? No. He's still gone, right? What makes you feel better is remembering the person for who they were, all of the good that they put into the world, all of the moments you had with them that were special, what they did, like how they interacted with you, how they impacted who you are, and carrying that forward with you, because that's what we have, right? And I think, like, I know that sounds super like lame, but like leaning into the fact that, like, I don't need to know.
No.
Not even that, like, I can't know. I know I can't know. I don't need to know. Because most of us think, well, if I could just figure out this problem, then I can fix the problem. I can solve the problem. Like, you can't solve that problem, right? That problem is no longer here to solve.
Exactly.
Instead, like, you're searching for this answer to avoid what's inevitable. And that inevitable is that you have to deal with how you're feeling, and you have to deal with what happened. And it's complicated, and it's messy, and it's not linear, and it's going to take time and energy and everything. But at the end of it, I can sit here saying, we can all get through this, right? We can all get through incredibly hard, shitty things, and we can actually be better for them. That doesn't mean that it happens for a reason. I never tell anybody that. Things don't happen for a reason. And things don't happen to make you a better person, right? Like, I know you get that bullshit in Christianity, but like, he didn't die so that I could be a better fucking person. Like, he died and I have a couple of options, right? Like, I can either use that to move forward and try and be a better person, and try and be a better person for other people, so that when things come up for them, I can handle it in a way that's so much better than it was handled for me, right? Anyway, sorry, I'm kind of going on and on about this, but like, really, how I got through it was leaning into it. And it fucking sucked. But that's the only way. I think when you try to avoid it, like, I remember making this very conscious decision after he died, because I used to party a lot and do a bunch of drugs for fun and, like, whatever. But like, I was not going to do any of those things, because I did not want to get sucked into this vortex where I ended up in the same place, right? And that's not because I have like incredibly strong moral fiber. I just thought, like, this is a very, very precarious place to be, for me anyway, right? Yeah, and so I don't begrudge anyone that's like, if someone dies, they drink. I would probably drink too. But I think my point in all of this is not to say, like, here's a prescription for dealing with grief. My point is to say, the only way through it is through it.
Yeah.
And it's a garbage ass. It sucks. It fucking sucks. And I wish that there was a way to say, like, here's a way that it's easier. It's ugly. It's hard. It's painful. But it's not going anywhere. So until you lean into that and get through it, or like work through it. I mean, I remember sitting on like picnic tables, sobbing my eyes out, just like trying to get through my day. I remember sitting in my car. I remember all of this shitty stuff that I could have tried to avoid, but for what? It's not going anywhere. Sorry, that was a big, long tirade. What I also did, which here's maybe we can lift the spirits a little bit, was I decided, you know what, my brothers in Christ, I'm going to go to YWAM, because God will definitely meet me if I'm being a super annoying proselytizer in another country.
hold on before you jump in that real
Yeah.
quick, because I do want to talk about YWAM because I'm also very familiar with YWAM. Shock. But real quick before we leave that point, you said a lot of things that are meaningful and impactful for a lot of people, or I would hope that they would be receptive to a lot of the things that you said there. And when it comes to grief, Heathen Queen hit the fucking nail on the head. There's no secret recipe. There's no potion. There's no anything that's going to help all of us move through it or process it or get past it all, the same way. There's just no such thing. There is no recipe. But what I do agree with is eventually you have to take it head on. And the analogy that that I have or that I use is, unfortunately, in those situations, it's a car crash.
Okay.
It's a car crash, and you have to pick up the pieces. And sometimes you can take that car away and it keeps going, and that person is still here and it's repairing and healing and all that. And other times that car is done. It's done. It's gone. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Austin, that's so insignificant when we're talking about human lives. That's on purpose. That's on purpose. I'm trying to, if anything, it's a reductio ad absurdum, to reduce it down to the absurd in a helpful way. That there's something you just have to and draw those lines and start to move on and move past it, because it doesn't mean what happened in that car crash wasn't disgusting, or it wasn't nasty, or it wasn't hurtful, or it wasn't traumatic. It just means eventually we have to go head to head with those things and move on from the events that happened. And I'll say this, and we did have a super chat a minute ago. We'll do that. Then we'll jump into YWAM and kind of lift the mood a little bit, like you said. But
Hopefully.
the fucking YWAM. But Heathen Queen talked about being on park benches and things like that, and crying and sobbing and going through, experiencing and going through those emotions. When we talk about taking it head on, it doesn't mean being numb to it,
Right.
and not experiencing and not feeling it. You have to do that. You have to experience the hurt, and you have to feel it, or you never actually really move past it, because you don't deal with the grief and with the mourning. And as much as Heathen Queen was saying that, just on Mother's Day, I went to, and again, I'm not making this about me. I'm just relating to what
please.
what she's, what she was sharing is, because I'm still in the midst of still facing that pain and that grief. That it's not even been a year yet for me, losing my mom. And the rest of my Christian family doesn't want to talk about this, but my mom's death was a suicide. She took her own life, and she was a Christian music minister involved in the ministry, so they don't want to talk about it, but I'm not afraid to talk about it. And her mental health got the best of her, and it's not my fault. It's not my stepdad's fault. It's not my brother's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's not her fault, but it is what it is. And I went to her gravesite, and I was out there for 2 or 3 hours, and there wasn't a park bench, but I took 2 or 3 blankets out, so my fucking ass didn't get wet because it had been raining, but I took 2 or 3 blankets out there, and it was 2 or 3 hours that there was times that I was smiling and all the good memories, and there was times I was bawling my fucking eyes out, like I was a little boy again, and it's doing those things and feeling and letting your humanity feel those things and process those things and work through those things. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel that shit. Just don't hold on to it.
Yeah.
Let it go. You have to let that shit go and work its way out. But
Yeah.
no, Heathen Queen, thank you for your so far. We still got a good portion to go, but thank you for your honesty and everything so far. I truly I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm incredibly sorry for your loss. That's unimaginable. I mean, I can imagine it kind of, but it's not the same.
No, it's well, no. So far, it's like as we're talking, I'm like, yeah, we had a lot more in common than I realized. People
Yeah.
had told me like, you guys have a lot in common, but you and I haven't sat down like this. So I'm like, holy
Right. Yeah.
fucking shit,
There's a lot. I think it's a
But
lot.
listen, we have a super chat. So if you're cool with this, we have a super chat. We'll play this, and I'll do like a little pause button moment because I told you before we went live, I had just had dinner, and
Oh yeah.
I really need to go use the restroom.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll hit the
I
pause button and come right.
Before you do that, I just
Yeah.
want to say one thing.
Yes.
If any of y'all, because I'm like reading the chat kind of, are struggling with grief or loss or anything related to that, and you need support in any way, message me. Like, I mean that 100,000%. I'm not going to be able to offer you anything, but I will sit with you and I will let you feel what you're feeling. And I won't try and like feed you platitudes about how everything's going to be okay or blah, blah, blah. And I think if nothing else, going through that process taught me that like the best way to be there for people sometimes is just shut up and sit. And so if you find yourself feeling alone or struggling with this grief and loss and you just need someone to exist with you, message me. That's all.
Oh yeah, and same here. And we have our well, on all of our social medias right there on the bottom right hand corner. Tang's live. Tang is live. We will do that as well, and we do have a on the streams that it makes sense to bring it up. I do have contact information of a secular atheist therapist that I can get people in contact with, even if you want to do it remotely. And
Yeah.
so if you want friends to talk to, Heathen Queen, myself, or whatever, you just need people to listen. We're here. We're here. We're not professionals, but we'll listen. Like she just said, we'll shut the fuck up and just listen and let you process and do a lot. But if you need professional help, Tang, we do have a one or two actual secular atheist therapists that don't have Christianity and all that baggage attached to it to be able to speak to. And they are professionals. They are certified professionals. So we'll hit the let's do the super chat first.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then we'll hit a quick pause button. And my money on my mind. All right, Joe. Heathen Queen and mostly me, but Heathen Queen are going to take a restroom break, and we'll be right back. Stop it, Posty. Stop it. Craig, I went through on here and in YouTube Studios, and I'm not finding your.
Yeah, I didn't see one.
Yeah, I did my due diligence, and I'm not finding it. But everybody, thanks for your patience and allowing me to go tinkle. So let's talk about this. Why wham?
God.
Shit.
So, for those that don't know, YWAM is called youth, or it means youth with a mission, and it's effectively an indoctrination program for young adults. And I guess I should paint maybe the picture a little bit too, right? When I was 21, I already had a bunch of tattoos. You can't see them here, but I have a bunch of them. My hair was multiple colors. I know, hard to imagine me having unusual colored hair. And I had grown up in this environment. No, I know, right? Doesn't grow in this way.
My bad.
I had grown up in this environment where, like, yeah, I grew up conservative, but also I had been very much exposed to a lot of things, right? So to all kinds of abuse and trauma, to all just, everything, to growing up in the Bay Area where, like, you cannot exist here without being exposed to any number of things and a lot of diversity. So that all being said, I thought, I'm going to go to YWAM and do God's work, and then he will certainly meet me, because not only am I incredibly broken right now, I am also, going and sacrificing effectively, because I'm going to go serve God, right? Like, I don't know, it's so stupid when you think back on it, because it's like you could theoretically serve God anywhere, but like, it seems like going on a mission trip's like really the way to do it best. So anyway, I picked one out. My church fundraised for it. I went, and the first half of it is like a what's it called? It's effectively like a short-term Bible school. You do like 3 months. I can't remember the name of it, but effectively you do 3 months like Bible school, and then you do another 3 months on a missions trip. And so I'm like, all right, so I picked this one out, seems great. And I go, and my like Bible school thing is going to be in Switzerland, which I think, like, awesome, cool, whatever, let's do it. So I go over there, and it is in Switzerland, but like, it is in this little tiny town in the middle of nowhere. And when I say tiny, I mean there was like the base where we stayed, and on the other end of this town there was like a church and a post office, and then you could like walk a circle around it, and there was like little farms and houses. Yeah, that's what it was called. Sorry, DTS, Discipleship Training School. Like, we got our milk from like the cow down the road. Nothing wrong with that, but just to give you an idea of how small it actually was. So that's where I show up. And when I show up there, everybody except for one person was from the Midwest. Again, no shade to the Midwest, but they were from the Midwest. They had almost exclusively all been homeschooled. They had all been Christians their entire life, and none of them had experienced much in the way of, like, God, I hate to say it this way, none of them had really experienced much in the way of any actual trauma. And listen, I am so happy for them. Like, so happy for them. I would never, ever, ever wish trauma on anyone. I'm just trying to give people a picture of like how I showed up and who was there. And I remember there was this one guy who I've made friends with, who was from Texas, but like had lived a life and became my like best friend while we were there. He's awesome. I actually, he came to visit once a couple years back with his wife. But anyway, that was like the one guy that I was able to relate to on any level. And so we had like our leaders, right? And my leader was like this very nice, very sheltered girl who had basically just done YWAM for a long time after being homeschooled. And we do our little one-on-ones. And I remember just going in there and being like, yeah, my boyfriend shot himself in the head a few months ago. So that's what I'm dealing with. But like, so she, needless to say, she wasn't particularly prepared for that. So that was like, that's when I got there. It was just like, this is the situation, right? And not the thing is like, I don't necessarily expect anyone to know how to deal with that, right? Like maybe a therapist, but that's another problem of evangelical Christianity, is that like anyone is thought to be equipped to deal with any horrendous thing because you have the Bible, right? Like, and it's just not true. Like, you cannot give a Bible to a 20-year-old and expect that they're going to be able to navigate something like that. How? It's not her fault. It's not right. Nobody can do that. So anyway, we did this little like DTS, and I was not living my best life. Let me put it that way.
But were you?
I was I was staying in a room with 5 other girls, and actually some of them were like okay, like they're still fairly sheltered and whatever, but like I got along with most of them. There was one though who was like, anything I had done, she had done it better. Anything that had happened to me, it had happened to her worse.
Oh, a one-upper.
God, just like making things up. Like you can't, and it wasn't just me, it was everybody. So I'm like, you're telling me that you've done all of this better than all of us? Like, it was a really interesting thing. I remember, and I don't have a lot of patience. Y'all might have noticed I had even less then. So I remember thinking like, I'm like, this girl's about to catch these hands, because like I cannot hang with this right now. And then while I was there, yeah, sorry. So I guess I'm not raising anyone's spirits. While I was there, my grandmother passed away. Sorry. And then we went on our mission trip, and I really, for whatever reason, probably because I had a white savior complex, really wanted to go to, I forget exactly where it was, but it was in Africa, right? One, because I didn't know when the next time I was ever going to get a chance to travel to Africa, but like 2, also because every like missions trip framework in the Christian church is you being a white person going into a country full of people of color and somehow like saving them, right, from their, all of it, saving them from their misery, right? They're not miserable. They don't need your religion. Like, just FYI. But you're taught that they do. So anyway, I really wanted to go to Africa and be a white savior. And instead, I'm just being honest, I didn't know that then, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to. Yeah, I didn't know. Now I do. So where I ended up going was Ireland, to save all those non-Christians.
You went there to save Conor McGregor.
I did, from making his terrible whiskey. No,
whoa!
I'm joking.
In the stream. The stream is over.
Abort. Actually, I haven't had his whiskey. I just know he's kind of a trash human, so I'm like,
he's kind of a piece of shit, but his whiskey's good.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I stand corrected. In any event, I went to Ireland, which is a really bizarre place if you think about it. But hey, Ireland's not bizarre. It's bizarre to go there on a mission trip. Like, I loved Ireland. I would go back tomorrow if I had the opportunity. It was amazing, but I'm still not fully understanding. I mean, I do and I don't, right? Like, evangelical Christianity teaches you that if you don't believe exactly the way that they believe, that you're going to hell. So if you're Catholic, hell. Protestant, probably hell. Have some like weird belief, right? Like, are you a mid-acts dispensationalist? Hell. There's just like any number of things, right? So you're forced to think you have to save everybody. So I remember going to Ireland and just like, I think I blocked most of it out. My favorite part was like I would just go out by myself to like bars. And just like hang out, and I was like, well, this is fun.
Real quick, we have a very important question in the chat. This comes from both you and I's homeboy, Dr. Yashua, and he asks, can this air quotes queen even substantiate the instantiation of the preconceived necessary conditions of intangible productivity in the ultimate grounding of the necessary? Hashtag boom roasted.
Hey, Josh. Yeah.
Well, you heard it here. You heard it here.
He knows. Do dogs come from non-dogs? No. That's Ken Tobin. Sorry.
I'm pretty sure that Dr. Josh, obviously mocking Darth Dawkins, would say that is an intelligible conversation that would base within a non sequitur, and you are arguing from ignorance.
Someone said Josh better have some street cred. Hey, Josh has lots of street cred.
Hey, yeah, when's the last time you streamed with Killer Priest from Wu-Tang Clan, bitch? All right, so there's fuck, it just because the other organization just hopped in my mind. So what was it? The organization you were just talking about?
YWAM.
YWAM, and then there is oh fuck, my brain's getting all fucked up now. There's YWAM, and then there's something for Christ. It's very much along the same lines of what you're talking about.
All I can think of is Campus Crusades.
Well, there's that too. I remember them.
That's not the one.
Youth for Christ, YFC.
Oh, right, yeah, Youth for Christ.
Where they have it, but Youth for Christ is very much more. Oh, and Teen Mania, don't get me.
Oh my God!
Goddamn motherfucking.
There's
What's
not enough alcohol.
You know what? We're just gonna do a separate episode on that. We're just gonna do a separate, because as soon as fucking Teen Mania comes up, I remember what the fuck that did to me. But this isn't about me right now, so we're gonna skip that shit. But anyway, so
I don't know. I think people may have had enough of me. I've been like lecturing the class for the last hour.
They for whatever reason they tune in here and listen to my dumbass talk every night. So this is probably a good healthy break. So YWAM, and still trying to figure all the you're obviously still trying to figure out like what makes sense to you, and how does all this fit into your life? How do you fit your life into this? So once YWAM is over, what's
well, I guess I should also mention that I left YWAM early. Because I was like, this place fucking sucks. It's so like, I know that's probably shocking that I was that blunt about it. But here I am. But yeah, I was like, this fucking sucks. Like, I'm not getting anything out of this. And I'm really tired of traveling around with these people and doing just like nonsense. Like, that's what it felt like. We're doing nonsense, right? Okay, so I'm in Ireland on a mission trip, and like, what are we doing? Going around to churches and like chatting. Yeah, like what? Like, yeah. I think it was Aaron that said the ex-evangelical drinking tour of Ireland is the ministry that he didn't know he needed. And I'm telling you, like, I'm here for it. I will lead this ministry.
So real quick, Heathen Queen, look what we have. This is worthy of celebration.
Oh, thank you. I'm almost out.
That's badass.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you. I know I've been like checking to see like, oh, when am I going to get 1,000? But then I haven't posted anything new recently, so I don't know what I'm expecting. But thank you for subscribing. Yeah, so I decided that I was going to peace out because this place sucks. I'm going to blow this popsicle stand. So I came home, and to be honest, I was sort of in an even weirder place because I was like, I thought I did the thing that I was supposed to do. And God was supposed to like meet me there. And spoiler alert, he did not.
Away.
I know, it's wild, right? So I came home and I was just like, I just don't know. So I sort of continued going to church, and I was still processing a lot of the grief. And so I was meeting with someone who was from the church to talk about stuff, but he was actually very helpful, and he's a great guy, and I have nothing negative to say about him. But so I would do that, and ultimately I decided, okay, I want to go back to school. I want to go to college. I want to get my degree in something. And I'd always sort of known that I don't always wanted to do that. I just didn't quite see a path through to doing it. And I'll sort of save the specifics, but ultimately I was able to go or get into a pretty good school. And something that I had decided after Xavier died was that I had been living with a lot of fear. Like, if I thought I wasn't going to be initially good at something, I wasn't going to do it. If I was scared of what somebody might think if I tried it and tried whatever and it didn't work out, then I wasn't going to do it, right? So I had all of these fears that were holding me back. Or like, if I thought, well, I wasn't good at that in the past, so I'm never going to do it again. And it shifted for me after he died that like I was going to say yes to everything that scared me. Because I felt like I'm living really small. And when you see someone so young sort of pass away so quickly, you really get a front row seat to how short and fleeting life is. And what is the point of being here? I mean, I don't know if there is a point in being here, but like, what a waste it would be for me to not pursue the things that I was interested in just because I was scared I might not do them perfectly. And so again, there was a lot of shame and stress and whatever from school because I had gone to this Christian school and it had put me back a lot in a lot of areas and, yada, yada. But I said like to myself, this is something you've wanted. And the only reason you haven't done it is because you're scared. So I was fortunate enough to have some people in my life that sort of helped guide me on that path. I got into this school. I remember I got set up with my advisor, and it was totally, I didn't have a set major. So it was just happenstance that this is the person I got. And when I went in to meet with her, she said, well, what do you want to major in? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I was thinking about doing some kind of like pre-law curriculum, which isn't a curriculum, but anyway, because I think maybe I want to be a lawyer. Like, I don't know. And she said, have you ever considered economics? And I was like, no, I'm terrible at math. I could never do that. I'm not going to do that. And she was like, well, you might consider it because if you want to be a lawyer, like, you can still do this and they'll look kindly on it. And also my main concern was I'm the oldest of 5 girls. Both of my parents are broke all the time. I want to be able to get a job where I can support myself and feel financially secure, instead of always just getting by like I saw my parents do. And I also want to show my sisters that this is possible, that more is possible. And so anyway, she was saying, well, you can get a degree in this and like your job prospects will be pretty good out of college. And I said, that's nice. No. And I went home and thought to myself, oh, isn't this like interesting? This thing that scares you and you're saying no to it for no other reason than you think you might not be good at it and you haven't even tried it. So I went back the next day and said, okay. She was an economics professor, which is probably why she suggested it. I'm so glad she did. And she was one of my biggest advocates throughout college. But and in any event, I said, okay. And I decided to major, and it turns out I was really fucking good at it. And I was fortunate to have teachers that were willing to sit with me and like, when I didn't get something, work with me through it until I got it. And then I was, I remember taking an elective that was just like, I don't know, some political science course, and having my teacher give me the first C on a paper I had ever gotten in my life, ever. And I was livid. I was so mad. So I went and I met with him, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I mean, in so many words. And he explained it to me. Yeah, exactly. Mom, dog. And he told me exactly why, but this is what it is. And I said, okay. And I went and I fixed it, and I came back and he looked at it and he said, have you considered majoring in political science? I was like, you just gave me a C. And he was like, yeah, because I know you can do better. And you should hold yourself to this higher standard. So what did I do? Because I hate myself, I double majored. And you know what? It was a great decision for me, right? It's not for everyone, I get that, but it was what I wanted, and it was a great decision for me. And it was my first sort of step in being like, okay, this shit scares me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I say all of that, there's a reason, not just me going to college. So again, where I live is a fairly liberal place. And so when I went to this school, it's a very liberal school in a liberal place. And so there was people with all sorts of gender identity, sexual orientations, just from different family backgrounds, from different religious backgrounds, from all of this, just very, very different. And it's really hard to sit in classes with people and to hear about their lived experiences, to see them being genuinely who they are, and to have to reconcile that with the fact that God, because of the way these people were born, God was going to send them to hell forever. I could not get my brain around that. Oh, thank you. Could not get my brain around it. And so I thought to myself, all right, well, if I don't feel this connection with God, I don't feel it. I don't have these like signs, whatever. Because that's another toxic thing Christianity teaches you, is that you can't trust your feelings. You can't trust your feelings. Your heart is deceitful, right? So just because you might feel a certain way doesn't make it true, right? So it's very confusing, especially when you learn it from being a young child. The other really harmful thing that they teach that I will never get over why they teach this, because it's just a huge cell-phone, is that if one thing in the Bible isn't true, none of it's true, right? So I thought to myself, all right, well, if that's the case, then I am going to research the Bible, just the historical aspects, right? Not the supernatural stuff that you can't prove. There's no way to prove that in my opinion, but you can find evidence that this happened or this happened or this happened. And so off I went thinking, if I can prove it, I'm going to stick with it, because I can't trust my feelings, but I can trust evidence, right? And according to everybody in my church, the Bible is proven. There's so much evidence. Everybody's into apologetics.
Evidence.
So I started researching. I pulled the thread.
Oh, so hold on, stop there. Stop there. We got to stop there. So
Yeah.
real quick, because you brought up the heart being deceitful, and as soon as you said it, my brain and my old Christian heart finished the verse, and so did a roaming Goliath at the same. It's deceitful above all things.
Who can know it?
The heart is deceitful above all things, and yes, going through that process, and again, the I think the one thing in this, well, big picture, that this interview so far, your tenacity is remarkable, and
Yep.
being able to take a blow and move on, take a blow and move on, and take take a hit and move on, take a hit and move on, and not and it's not ever that you don't feel the pain, or you don't feel the hurt, or you don't experience the moment or the situation. It's you don't let it dominate you, and you don't let it overcome you, to spin you into a different direction that would cause you a worse outcome for you
Right.
personally. And again, like, good for you, congratulations, good on you, and we're proud of you. I'm
Thank you.
proud of you, because I know there's been situations for me the whole time. I'm like, fuck, I can relate to this, I can relate to this, I can relate to so it's I get it, because the Jay-Z has a lyric, and it's kind of my go-to, is no matter what happens, I bounce back like round ball. It doesn't matter, I bounce back like a round ball. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
how hard you throw me down, it doesn't matter how far you throw me away from you, it doesn't matter how you try to discard me. It's like throwing away a round ball. I just bounce the fuck back,
Yeah.
and it may take a couple seconds, it may take a couple days, a couple months, whatever it is, but I will bounce back, and there's when folks go through shit like you've gone through, and like I've gone through, and others, we're not the only ones,
Of
obviously.
course not. Yeah.
Other ones, it's you learn to appreciate when you hear those people talk. It's like, yeah, I get it.
Yep.
Do your thing. Get that shit. And it's it makes you want to flex, because it's like, yeah, I'm behind you. I got you. I got and I support it. So so again, I'm proud of you. The more I'm hearing, and the more I'm learning, like it's pure badassery.
Thank
So
you.
keep
That's very kind.
keep doing what you're doing. And
Thank you.
now we talked about no, we did it. You did. You brought up we started to pull the thread. We started to
Yeah.
pull the little string. And if there's any of the atheists that are former, especially evangelical, charismatic type Christians, you know exactly what the fuck she's talking about and what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
As soon as you just start to give a little tug to
Yeah.
that thread, or to that string, it's almost like a Jack in the Box, where it's just, it was a joke the whole time.
Got him.
So please, you started to pull the thread.
Yeah.
And what happened?
I mean, again, I think that the most that has to be just the stupidest thing you could teach Christians, in my opinion, is that, like, if one thing isn't right, it's all wrong. Because so much of it is demonstrably wrong. Like, so, like, I said, all right, and I started researching. And I think we all know where this ended. No, but I think one of the first things that I like now, to me, I'm like, duh, but at the time was totally mind blowing to me, was when I discovered that, like, no respectable scholar in the world thinks that the four gospels were written by eyewitnesses. They don't think that they were written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. They weren't even written within, like, they were written maybe within a lifetime, one of them. Because the church that I grew up in taught, like, if or not if, they taught that the gospel narratives were 4 individual eyewitness accounts, and how could all of them be lying, right? Like they were all there, they all saw it.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a
hop
question?
in.
Just as far as the doctrine and theology you grew up with, just want to see if we grew up the same thing, but also for the viewers so they understand how, when we talk about inerrancy or how literal it is, well, I'll ask you before I say anything. The way you were taught, the way you grew up and understood the Bible and Christianity, was the verse that says, "Let God be true and every man a liar." Was that literal?
Yeah.
Okay, so we grew up the same way. So
Yeah.
literally, it did not matter what any man said,
It's a cult tactic.
critic or not of the text. It did not matter. It was God is true and every motherfucking human is a liar.
Yep. Well, that's something that like came up even before this. I mean, obviously, before I started researching, I grew up very much taught that effectively Satan is trying to trick you. He's trying to deceive you, and he'll use scientists and historians and everybody else. And thus, if it goes against the Bible, that is deception from the devil. So, like, it is very much a cult tactic. You create a second reality, and then you tell people, you teach people, you indoctrinate them to think that, or to know that anything that goes against that secondary created reality is a trap. And it's meant to do you harm, and it's going to affect your eternal soul if you don't handle it correctly. So yeah, like very much it didn't matter what anybody said. And I think that's why sometimes it's so hard to get through to Christians when you're talking to them, at least evangelicals, because they don't actually care about the evidence, because they don't believe. They, one, think the devil is trying to trick them. Two, that like it actually doesn't matter what people say. And three, that like atheists are hell bent on disproving the Bible and they'll use anything they can. When in reality, it's actually Christian apologists that are taking just outdated information, or they're twisting information, or they're using these like weird arguments that are like, well, just because nobody's found it yet doesn't mean it's not true. Or they're doing all of these really tricky things. This is actually deceitful, right? Instead of taking the entirety of the evidence and saying, okay, what is the overwhelming sort of consensus here, right? They don't. And that's something that I've learned and I've loved as an atheist, is that I can look at all the evidence. Oops, sorry, I just hit my mic. And say, hey, yeah, there's conflicting evidence here. I don't know. I don't need there to be a specific outcome now, right? They could say like, yeah, this supports this and this supports that. And like right now we just don't really know the answer. But before, I was committed to my outcome. I was committed to the text a priori, right? Like this is true. So the only information that I can accept is information that supports this text, and everything else gets thrown out. And if I have to twist myself into like hermeneutic pretzels to get there, I'm going to do it. Because
But that's eisegesis. But that's terrible eisegesis.
I know. Like, like, I mean, like these people really had me out here thinking that there was like talking donkeys in the Bible. Okay. Like really, if you're an adult that thinks there was talking donkeys.
Heathen Queen, talking donkeys. In the first book of the Bible, we have a snake that likes to talk to women.
Right. I mean, I should have known from the moment they were like, hey, it was that bitch's fault. She ate the fucking fruit. They should have known I was going to be a terror, but I should have known that like it was bullshit. I mean, like beyond the fact that it's a talking snake, like just the amount of like cognitive dissonance and like mental gymnastics you have to do to think that like God is all good, God knows everything, And therefore, he wants us to have free will, but he doesn't want us to exercise our free will, because if we do, he's going to kick us out of the garden. And now women are going to have to suffer through birth pains. Like, what the fuck is that? No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, please.
Okay.
You don't have any idea how much I can talk about this.
So everybody in the chat, she told me to go. She told me to go, so I'm gonna go. So if you got a problem with it,
No, it's E40 in this bitch.
E40. Yeah. Anyway, she told me to go, so I'm gonna go. If you got a problem, I'll let you go. Free will's bullshit. Free will's bullshit. It's been bullshit. It's been bullshit since it's been bullshit. Why? Because it's not free will. That is an ultimatum. Because free will, if we're going to talk about like religion and all the gods and all this, philosophically speaking, free will would be the definition would be the ability to make a decision without the influence or impact of an external agent, right? That's the philosophical definition of free will. Guess what doesn't happen in the Bible, motherfuckers? Guess what doesn't happen in the Bible, motherfuckers? There's no decision without the influence of an external agent. Guess what that is? That's an ultimatum. Guess what the ultimatum comes down to? We have a tyrant that says you do it my way. You either do it my way and you do it this way, you do it that way, or you burn, motherfucker.
Right.
That's not free will.
I mean, that's like me telling my boyfriend, right? Like, hey, I need you to do this thing, right? And I know you want to do it because you just love me so much. But if you don't do it, I'm going to kill you.
And
I'm not being hyperbolic. Like, what the fuck? Is that a choice?
And not just kill you, not just kill you, Heathen Queen. I'm not just going to kill you. And I'm speaking as Yahweh God right now. I'm not just going to kill you. I am going to remove you from any hope of any eternal happiness or bliss. And I'm going to send you into eternal flames, gnashing of teeth, and damnation and torture for the rest of eternity. Because that's how much I love you. Because I
just love
remember,
you so much.
remember, I am all love.
And that's why I created that fiery pit.
Yeah, I'm all love. I'm all love. And I love you so much that I'm going to put you in that fiery pit to be tortured for eternity.
What if I'm into that? Just
That sounds hilarious, just me saying it.
It's just so crazy. I mean, like, that's the okay, so like beyond just the like intellectual, like, just I don't even know what to call it, just like beyond how stupid that sounds, just on a base level. The other thing that kills me now that I've done, like, I don't know, just the bare minimum of research, is that the concept of hell, like, mainly what we get that from is not the Bible. Right? Like, we have some references, but if you again had done anything but listen to your shitty pastor, you would understand that, like, Judaism in the Old Testament, the Israelites in the Old Testament didn't have any concept of eternal conscious torment. And do you see it start to evolve? Sure. But at the time of Jesus, it wasn't like a set theological belief that there's this eternal conscious torment. Like, it was kind of this idea that was sort of evolving, but like wasn't really set. And the belief was still very much that God was going to bring his kingdom to earth and that you would be annihilated. That was largely the belief at that time, right? I mean, we continue to see this evolution of thought, just like we see the evolution of like what early Israelites believed, how they would be redeemed, right? Like, you see evolution of theology and thought over time, but like this concept of eternal conscious torment, like, it's not even that biblical. It's very strange, like, the way that people use this, and I'm just like, you have no idea what you're talking about, like, none. Because if God is the same yesterday, today, and forever, right? He's the same forever, and he has the same consequences forever. Please point out in the Old Testament to me where God tells you that you're going to burn in a fiery pit for all eternity, right? Because even when they pull up, was it Elijah from the grave. This man was asleep. He's like, why did you wake me up, bitch? Like leave me alone. So even him, a wise, like, godly person, wasn't celebrating in heaven forever. He was just asleep. Like, he don't want a part of this. So it's just very odd to me the way that, like, I don't know, sorry, I'm on a tangent, but it's just like, it's just very odd to me how Christians have these, like, deeply held, sincere beliefs that are just not based on anything. Like, at least not anything biblical.
It's so, well, here, our Roman glass forever, and that is what's problematic. And well, here, let me scroll this. We have a super chat right here. Yeah. Sipping on gin and juice. What my mind, on my money, on my mind. From Cray 4.99. Thank you for the support. You better believe what I believe, or your ghost is gonna be burnt. And when we say burnt, it's like burnt like a 5 or 6 year old trying to do marshmallows at the fire, and that shit just is burnt, and everything's burnt from the outside to the inside, from the inside to the outside. That's what it's gonna look like. But no, yeah, it's yeah, I was gonna go on a tangent, but I'm not. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because I would like for us to get into the Discord here in about 10 minutes. So,
sorry, I am long-winded.
Well, so am I. So I'll stop. I will restrain myself right now. But what? So we went to this point, and you pulled the thread, and now all of these things are starting to rear their ugly heads, right? As far as what's real, what's not real. Oh, this shit's not real. Oh, this shit's definitely not real. You know, and now we're looking at history, and we're looking at other sources other than other than just Christian sources. Yeah, and the proverbial walls begin to fall down. So what did that process look like for you when it was like, I don't, and kind of maybe that, whether it was a moment or multiple moments where those light bulbs started to go off, where it's like, no, I can't do this shit anymore. I don't believe in this shit anymore. What did that look like?
So there were multiple moments, but one, after I had sort of started doing all of this research, and it was becoming pretty clear to me that, like, God, none of this stuff is really provable, right? At least most of it anyway. I remember I was walking through campus, and it seems like such an obvious thought, but I thought to myself, if all of these things that I thought were true, all of these things that I believed about the world, the entire framework and lens through which I saw the world are based on things that aren't true, what the hell is true? Like, it felt very much like I had, the best way I can describe it is feeling unmoored. Like, I used to have this foundation, and now it's all fallen away, and I'm just kind of floating. Like, I don't have a home base right now. I have to figure out what I believe about everything. Because the thing is being a Christian, it doesn't just teach you what to believe about your Bible or about your spirituality. It teaches you what to believe about everything in the world. So when you start, it teaches you how to, everything, every decision you make is based on how you view the world, how you view, or how you understand spirituality, right? So if you think everything's spiritual warfare, you're going to view that very differently, right? You're going to vote very differently. You're going to interact with people very differently. You're going to pick up hobbies very differently. So, like, all of these things that I used to have a jumping off point from, or at least it's not even a jumping off point. I'm trying to think of it like a filter that said like, nope, yes, nope, yes, nope, yes, is gone. And so, okay, wait, how do I actually feel about the LGBTQIA community having rights? Actually, I feel great about that. It was just that my religion told me that they shouldn't, right? Like, how do I feel about having sex outside of marriage? I used to feel incredibly ashamed. Well, now what? Now there's nothing inherently wrong with that. There's no value judgment attached to that. It just is a thing. And those are a few like very obvious sort of ideas, but overall, it's just like your entire reality shattered and you have to rebuild it. And I remember at the time, nobody like, and there's a big deconstruction movement now, and I'm so happy for people that they have a community. I did not. Nobody cared what I was learning, and that's fine. It wasn't their life, right? But like nobody was interested in what I was learning. Nobody cared that I had just discovered that like the Book of Revelation was actually political commentary on Rome and not this like prophetic thing for the future. And the people that might have been interested were people that were part of the religion and only wanted to talk to me if they were trying to bring me back in. And so it was very lonely. And oftentimes I want to say confusing. I'm not sure confusing is the right word, but like when you don't know, okay, well, what? I remember really thinking that like right and wrong don't really exist. I mean, I would say like there are certain things that I would say are wrong, right? Killing a person is wrong. Like stealing from someone most often is wrong, although eat the rich. But like, you know, there are things that like largely I would say probably that's wrong, at least in my like value system. But I had to create a new value system. Like I had to create an entirely new value system because it was like, oh, why wouldn't I wear that shirt? That's because I was told it was immodest. Okay, well, there's nothing actually shameful about my body. So maybe I can wear this shirt, right? And that's a very like small example, but just everything like that where you are taught that everything is inherently bad or good. It's very binary, black and white. And then when you leave, it's like, no, a lot of these things don't actually have a value attached to them. Like there's nothing inherently good or bad about this action for the most part. And I use the like sex before marriage thing because that's easy for most people to relate to. Most people think sex this way is good, sex this way is bad, right? At least in some way, especially if you're coming out of religion. And learning that like, no, actually sex is just something that our bodies are designed for, and it's not good or bad. And actually enjoying sex also isn't bad. And I know for people that came out of purity culture, that like for me, that was like,
Ayo.
I'm gonna need like a year to think about that.
Ayo.
Yeah. So
sex
I mean that
bad,
it was
bad sex bad.
Exactly. Bad. Exactly. Like, I mean, I remember it took me years, and I took a pole dancing class, and I cannot tell you the amount of anxiety that went into going into that class. And I'm so lucky because for whatever reason that day, I was the only student in the like class, and I became actually really good friends with the instructor. But like, that was actually a path to a lot of freedom for me, because it was like, your body isn't bad. Your body isn't shameful. And actually other people finding you attractive, also, that's not bad. That's not bad. And it's also not your fault. And you also don't have to feel guilty about it. Right. And like, I think growing up as a woman in purity culture, holy shit. If a guy looked at me twice, I thought like, shit, I just fucked up. Instead of being like, human attraction is a normal thing that happens. And the way we handle it is what is sort of, I don't want to say right or wrong, but like makes it good or bad in some ways, right? Like, but being attracted to someone isn't bad. Like
that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a whole other episode on like teen challenge, or not teen mania and all that shit, because of what you just said. It's because it is still even, you know, in our generation, still focused on, well, young ladies, if a man looks at you more than one time, you must be a slut.
Yeah.
No, No, that's not what the fuck that means.
Well, and the thing is like I joke about this a lot, but like, okay, say I have sex with a different person every week. Was it consensual? Was I safe? Great. That says nothing about my character as a human being. Nothing. And it doesn't mean that you are bad or you're good. It just means you're a human doing human things. And so long as there's consent with that other person, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? So like this idea of like, because I still hear people saying it like, oh God, that was like so slutty. Like, so they just enjoy having sex? Like, that's it? Like, I don't know.
And what I think you were saying a minute ago, and then I'll say this, and I'll let you have a closing statement, and we'll go to Discord. And you're good. This has been awesome. This is the whole thing has been awesome. But the one thing for for me separating from that purity culture, but it's from a man's perspective, which is completely different because it's not nearly as abusive and intrusive as it is for the women. And I know that, and I acknowledge that, and I won't even touch that with a 10-foot fucking stolen pole. Right? I'm
not the stolen pole.
Not even the stolen pole. And I know I will leave that alone. But even as a dude growing up,
totally.
And that where it's still they still try to indoctrinate into the purity that's it's one, and not only is it one, and I don't think there's any problem with people getting married and having one partner. Yeah. I'm not against that, but it's this unnatural, unrealistic philosophy, or what the fuck ever they want to call it, where you can't look at any other human being and say, wow, that is an attractive human being.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's like this idea that like, how do I say this? The way that Christianity sort of infects every aspect of your life, in my opinion, is because it teaches you that your human body is inherently bad. As soon as you enter this world, usually before, right, you're inherently broken. There's no way for you to be redeemed unless you go through Jesus, right? And that even then, you have to deny yourself, and your hope is when you die, you're going to go to heaven. It's a death cult. But all of that permeates every aspect of theology, and it teaches you that like any human emotion, any human feeling, any human desire, any human anything is inherently bad. So like, and you're taught God sets out these rules so that like you can exist in this like fucked up body and society in a way that's like holy. When in reality, like, it's just a method of control, and that's it. And that's why they teach you that like everything about what you want as a human being is evil and sinful. Anyway, that's another episode,
No. What you said is that's dead on. And this is if you're okay with this, Heathen Queen, I would prefer to do this. We have a very probably one of the most impactful and important super chats.
Oh yeah, yes.
That we've had on a single stream in quite a while, and I think this is high impact. And you were the guest tonight, and you've brought a bunch of value to this particular conversation. So we will do what we do here on the channel, and we will put the super chat up and play the music. But then after that, I want you to, I'm not even going to say a word. I want you to address this super chat. And then once you're done, again, one more time, shill your channel, the things you got going on, and then we'll jump into the Discord. But I want this to, I want you to focus on this. I think this will be awesome. But before we do, let's do what we do here, Tang Gang. Roaming Goliath for $10. Thank you for your support to the channel, but more so, we want to make sure that we address this. So, Heathen Queen, roaming Goliath says, "Thanks for the stream, guys. My soon-to-be ex-wife left our apartment for the last time yesterday, resulting from my deconversion. This stream helps more than you know." So, Heathen Queen, thank you so much. I want you to address this, and I'm going to bow out. I want you to handle that.
All right. Oh, okay, bye. First of all, I want to say that roaming Goliath has recently done me a huge kindness. And I did not know any of this was going on in their lives. So thank you, first of all. Second of all, and this is incredibly difficult, I think, to hear when you're going through it. Feel all of those shitty feelings. Just, you have to. Make sure that you don't isolate yourself as much as possible. And even if that just means on the internet, just have connections with people. They'll keep you afloat more than you know, and more than you'll probably be able to see in the midst of it. Third, this doesn't do, like, I don't like to offer people platitudes because I think they're useless, but I do think that it's important to know that you are never wrong when you are being genuine and true to yourself. It might hurt, it might suck, it might be a struggle for a while, but ultimately, you have to be true to yourself. You have to. Because at the end of it all, that's who you're left with. And you only get this one shot at life. And I'm not here to be like an inspirational speaker, because I don't think life is some, like, you know, I'm not like, life is so great all the time, like we should be so thrilled to be here. It's not. It's hard, but it's also beautiful. And being able to live authentically is one of the most healing things you can do. And it's the only way to make this life worth it, in my opinion. Pardon me. It's the only way to make this life worth it. That does not negate any of the pain that is caused from losing someone so close to you. I can only speak as someone who's lost, I've never been married, but lost partners. And that pain is indescribable and unimaginable. And I would not purport to fully understand. So I don't want you to take any of this as me saying, like, it's all going to be okay. I would never say that to anyone. I think ultimately, at the end of it all, you will know you've made the right choice. I don't think that knowing you've made the right choice is going to make it hurt any less in the meantime. And I know that's not incredibly encouraging, but sometimes I think I appreciated people so much when they were real with me in the midst of my pain. Because when people came to me and were like, well, everything happens for a reason, like, it'll all work out in the end, I was like, you can go fuck yourself. Like, that's my response to you. So, like, it is going to hurt and it's going to suck. And I think you know that. And I'm not going to negate that in any way whatsoever. But I think you know that you made the right choice. Hold on to that. Hold on to that. Because you can only fake being who you are to make somebody else happy for so long. And that's a very different pain. Yeah, so I think, I don't know how much of that is helpful. Know that my DMs are always open. You are making the right choice. Being true to yourself is always the right choice. And as someone who, I mean, I think you know, I just told this story, experienced a bunch of shit that sucked ass, better things are coming. That is the only platitude I will offer you. Better things are coming. And they might not feel like they're coming, and they might not be coming tomorrow, but they are coming. And, like, the more honest you are with yourself and the more true you are to yourself, It's like opening a door for all of those things to come in. And this is not me being like this is the secret and you have to manifest your bullshit, right? It's not at all. It's just that when you're being authentic to yourself, you automatically find people that you like relate to, that you want to be around, things that you actually want to do, not things that you think you have to do. So I'm kind of rambling on here, but I think like I don't want you to hear better things are coming and hear like, God, this is just some bullshit ass like platitude, because I'm not gonna lie to you, it's gonna fucking suck for a while. But being authentic to yourself is always the right decision, even if it hurts in the short term. Even if it hurts in the short term, better things will come. Better things will come. And I hope that you know that that's not just me pulling it out of my ass. That's me having been in the fucking pit and thinking that I'm never going to recover from this. I am never going to feel happy again. I will never love somebody again. Like I am changed forever. And I'll tell you something. I was changed forever, but better things still came. And I found people I loved again. And I learned to love myself again. And I think more than anything, I'm going to get emotional. Learning to love myself was the most important thing I've ever done. And it has made my life so much more meaningful than I could have ever dreamed. And it's the only thing that allows me to sit here and say these things to you. So better things are coming.
And she just got me in my feels, and we'll do a cross screen fist bump because that's real shit. And yeah, so what we'll do, yeah, so we did the super chat. So if you would, Heathen Queen, just let everybody know quickly where they can find you. And when we go to Discord, Heathen Queen, as long as you're cool. I can't talk because I got in my feels there for a moment. I actually think you and I have not just a lot in common, but a lot to offer when it comes to the authenticity angle, and that's a lot of times where I get attacked. It's like, how do you do this? How do you do this? Well, I don't give a fuck.
Me either. You might have noticed.
Yeah, and I know that, but there are a lot of people that is a huge hurdle. That's a huge hurdle. Like, how do you get to the point where you really actually don't give a fuck what people think?
Yeah. We can talk about that.
Your authenticity and your individuality is more important than than other things. So I think if you're cool with that, I would love to do that with you in the Discord, because I think you and I can go tit for tat with everybody.
Yeah.
And not tit for tat, but answer, tit for tat in there and helping people. So go ahead and share, and then we'll take like a 5-10 minute break and we'll be there.
Yeah. I want to say this just quickly before we go, because I just saw this in the chat. Drunk on a work night and crying. Both of those things are okay. Have compassion with yourself. Extend the same compassion to yourself that you would extend to anybody else that said they were drunk and crying on a work night because they're going through a major change in life. Don't judge yourself for that. It's okay. When I said earlier that I decided to like lay off the drugs, like the party drugs after my ex died, it wasn't like to say that those things you can't like use those as an escape. I just knew for me it wasn't going to be helpful, but it's absolutely not in any way a value judgment on anybody else. So feel those things, be okay with it, extend forgiveness and compassion to yourself, because that's literally the only way that you can move forward. And on that note, you can find me all the places at this point. Queen of the Heathens on TikTok. I believe Heathen Queen on YouTube. There's going to be a link, I think, in the show notes. Queen of Heathens on Twitter. And am I missing something? Yeah, I have an Instagram. I'm not that active, but it's also Queen of the Heathens. And I have Unholy Trinity, which is my my YouTube channel with Jacazus and Red Sage. So,
and she will be live in color, in person, and speaking at Better in Fort Wayne, Indiana, June 25th and 26th.
I'm super excited.
Oh, I am too. The panel, the whole thing's gonna be badass. But I've yet to see like an atheist like gathering or conference or whatever focus on TikTok creators. So that should be interesting because TikTok is its own little animal.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for TikTok. Lord knows I'm a boomer at heart. Like how I got popular on the internet is fucking a mystery to me. But here we are.
Well, before I do roll the outro again, everybody, the links are in the chat. If you're not familiar with our Discord, the links are there. But before we go, Heathen Queen, thank you very much, and I mean that.
Thanks for having me.
I'd had people tell me like, no, Oz, you don't understand. Like once you guys talk, both of you are gonna realize, like, holy shit, we have a lot in common, and we got a lot in common.
It would seem that way more than I anticipated, and I anticipated having a lot in common. So,
so I appreciate that, and I appreciate your as always, but your authenticity and you being willing to be open and vulnerable and you're doing that being your desire to help people, and that's what I love. And that's what I embrace. Whether it's you or anyone else, is the wanting to help other people move through or navigate through things that you or myself have experienced. So thank you. I appreciate that very much.
No, thank you. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I did not anticipate hitting all of those points tonight, but I think, as some would say, what was meant to happen happened.
Absolutely. And yeah. Each interview takes its own route and everything. And tonight, I think, yes, what was supposed to happen happened. And then we'll go to Discord, and I think the whole authenticity thing and everything, I think, is going to be important. So y'all give us like 5 or 10 minutes so we can use the restroom and refill drinks.
Go put on my pajamas.
And put on pajamas and do all that, and we will meet you there. Love y'all.
Yeah. This is for all you non-philosophizing black sheep, unwelcome, push to the side motherfuckers like me.
Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Let's get down to business. These bitches got glitches. And you thought you'd dismiss us? Nah. Now I'm laughing in stitches. See, the problem be, it'll be a tragic travesty to come after me. So just know this is how we get down. Respect that shit like a pronoun, bitch. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. And fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way. Yeah. Fuck what they say. Tang gang, Atheist Your Way.